And welcome to our April edition of Sports Highlights on the Road. For more, log on to nnpstv.com. Greg Bickaveris, glad you're with us. Hope you enjoyed our March 2020 300th show. Our program airs on Mondays at 7, 2, and 7, weekends at 9 a.m. on Cox Cable 47 and 517. It's a pleasure to talk to Bamba. Bamba, good to see you.
Good to see you.
You got a big sports background. Tell us how it all got started in Poquoson.
It started at a young age. Both my parents played basketball, volleyball, soccer, you name it, and I really got into volleyball because it's a non-contact sport, and then that just kind of took off, and then now that I'm an adult, professional beach volleyball was where it was at, and to excel in that career I found CrossFit.
When you talk about CrossFit, it's something for all ages.
Yeah, so I teach classes from ages 4 all the way up until Legends Group. We go up to 90. It's for the people that are in wheelchairs, no arms, no legs. It's for everybody. It's functional fitness.
Right. When you talk about functional fitness, really it starts, evolving constantly how the person does their workout routine. And the more confident they get, the more they can do.
Right. So, it can be as easy as wanting to pick up your grandchild or painting your nails, being able to reach down there, or as complex as wanting to compete across the region or worldwide. So it just all variations and all ranges can do CrossFit.
When you talk about it, though, as far as programs for classes and so forth, is it better to do individual first, or then a class or a group setting?
Well, here at CrossFit Oyster Point, we recommend that people learn, the basics first. It's much more intimate on a one-on-one setting, and everybody is different. So you have to apply your coaching skills to that athlete. So therefore, we personally do here one-on-one, and then if that athlete is ready, we have them immersed in the regular class.
Talk about some of the different, as we look around this nice building, you see the ropes, you see weightlifting. Talk about what's it all entail.
So, like I said, CrossFit's functional fitness. So we push, pull, we fall down, we get up. Once the athlete learns how to move their body correctly and safely, then we apply weights, right, and increase their strength training. So it just all depends. We like to call this the box because we don't have a lot of equipment here. As you can see, just like you said, it's a lot of weight training and a lot of moving your body around weight.
And you have a soft setting for the floor as well.
Yes.
That means a lot for your feet, too, because you use your feet all the time.
Right.
Yeah, when you talk about as far as the future, as far as technology, how has it evolved into CrossFit? As far as you can measure distance and measure your speed and accuracy and how much you can actually do.
Well, yeah, the founder of CrossFit, Greg Glassman, kind of proved that the theory that constantly varying your workout is going to be the most beneficial. So doing the same thing all the time really is monotonous and it's not really fun. So changing up your routine, doing things that are going to improve your functionality in life is really where it's at. So we have workouts that range for measure time. We have workouts that are for distance, for weight, so it's all different variations. We rarely do the same workout twice in 1 year.
Folks, think about it as multitasking with your mind, body, and spirit. And you love to multitask, and this is definitely multitasking.
Yes, it is.
Well, you talk about health and fitness as well. Getting that workout, getting that sweat for the person that's been kind of idle, who doesn't like to work out, it can take care of a lot of ills.
Oh, yes. It's been pretty profound what we've noticed here, at least at CrossFit Oyster Point. We've had athletes come in that, struggle with their regular eating habits, or athletes that come in with back problems, and we teach them how to support their spine with muscle structure. We teach them how to eat correctly, and then their illnesses go away. So a lot of medications that were taken prior are now no longer needed. So it is mind, body, and soul. It's all encompassing, and a lot of what CrossFit is the community. I know for me personally, I'm not one to be motivated by myself. Even though today you came in and saw me working out, I really am driven by the community and this atmosphere of people just pushing each other.
Yeah, the energy. You build off the energy.
Right.
You feed off the energy kind of like you do in a team sport as well, compared to an individual sport like golf or tennis.
Right.
But you mentioned something very important. A lot of people now are on medications. Their back hurts. They got pain. They're on Vicodin. They're on something. But some of that stuff can be your mind, but you do something like this that can help you.
Oh, correct. Obviously, the more weight that we have, the harder it is for us to get around. So, of course, losing weight. But one of my favorite things is a lot of, depressive drugs like, Zoloft and medications that kind of our uppers and make you feel better are the same chemicals that are released in exercise. So those endorphins that you get from, that runner's high are the same things that you can get in medication. So that's one of the most beneficial things that I think that you get from exercise.
We're talking to Bamba about exercise and a lot more in our April 2020 edition of Sports Highlights. Hope everybody's okay out there. And you talk about for the first time person doing this, they might have walked, they might have run. Like I said earlier, they might have been idle for a while. You just can't jump into this. There is a routine, right?
Right. So we start out with the basic squat is one of the most functional things. So in a squat, we teach people how to, get down on the toilet or off the toilet correctly or sit from a chair. Unfortunately, in America, we sit down to do almost everything in life. So we have hip problems, knee problems. If you think about the Asian culture, they squat to do everything. So they have really healthy joints. So we start out with the basics of squatting. And then we build off that, like we said before. Once they can move correctly, then we add weight to them and increase their muscle structure.
Something you mentioned that's very important too, because a lot of people you talk to, women especially, they don't mind sitting on the floor and having a conversation. When you talk to a guy, he'll say, I'll never get on the floor and do any type of conversation. But that is a form of exercise, to sit down, get up without even thinking about it.
Right. I mean, flexibility is one of the most important elements, because if you think about us tripping or falling, if our joints go out or our ligaments are out, then we're not used to that positioning, then we could hurt ourselves. But if we are normal, we get on the normal, but if we normally get down on the floor and get up, then we're less apt to hurt ourselves in the long run, because we have that flexibility.
So the person that likes weights, they're in the good place right here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they need to learn how to move them correctly, because a lot of times you go to certain gyms and you're by yourself, or you're trying to look at the little screen on the machine and you're trying to figure out what they're doing, as opposed to having that one-on-one personal connection with that coach.
Right. I mean, even you got the medicine balls here too. Those,
right.
Tell us how the function of a medicine ball.
You can do a lot with those. We throw them often, but we also learn how to squat them. And before you learn a barbell, like a clean, right? You could pick up your groceries or your child, get them here and put them over your head to play. We would train somebody to do that with a ball first, prior to the more aggressive metal barbell, right? This is a lot less scary and more kind of appealing to that beginner athlete.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff you mentioned, whether it's individual sport or team sport or CrossFit, is you have to stretch a little bit. You can't just walk out here from your car and expect us to do this. You got to loosen up.
Yeah, I mean, the older we get, the more we have to warm up. Our owners, Jim and Diane Koski, Jim is a physical therapist, so having that as our leader is really pretty awesome, because he disseminates all that information through us, or to us, and we're able to apply his physical therapy backgrounds to our coaching here at CrossFit Oyster Point. So that's just a big benefit. We come in, we do dynamic joint movements, just kind of waking up, kind of oiling your machine, and then we apply that to a more cardio or strength-based training.
And you're exactly right, because when you give your car an oil change, you're loosening it up. The same thing for your body, right?
Right.
Your body, like we mentioned, your body, mind, and spirit all working together.
Right, and I mean, going back to that car analogy, if you think about our bodies being a machine, we put gasoline in our bodies. We don't put Crisco or like cooking oil or some type of thing to make our car run. So what we put in our bodies is just going to be just as important to fuel that machine or that car.
And now we hear these fancy words, keto diet, before it was just a no carb diet, but that's all important as far as, your balanced nutritional meals, whatever, to come and get a good workout too. You just can't eat sugar all the time.
Oh, it'd be fun though.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
No, but we do. Here at CrossFit Oyster Point, we have specific nutrition coaching for that athlete that really wants to dial in or increase weight, decrease weight, depending on what your goal is. But we like to say eat colorful foods, eat things that are, run, that grow just naturally or in the environment, and try not to overindulge or follow a specific diet. That's kind of what our motto is here.
Yeah, good thing, everything in moderation.
Right.
But working out, to me, is a way of life. You feel so much better after a long day. For the person that's tied up in a cubicle, they have no outlet. They're sequestered. So this is an outlet.
Yeah, it's an outlet for a lot of us. A lot of us have like OCD personalities, and we have to get that fixed, right? And we are high-strung people, so and we're adults now too. We
Right.
don't have that team sport that we used to have growing
Sure.
up. So this is our team sport. We go and compete, and we fuel off the energy of each other.
And we've done a lot of sports that we've covered. Ray and I, we've done kickball and swimming, and you see how much better somebody feels
Yes.
after they have a session.
Yes, I mean, you not only do those endorphins kick in, but you have better sleep. You are more energetic. You're happier. I mean, it's a spiraling effect.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not a doctor, but you do feel better physically and mentally when you get a workout. I mean, sometimes that can cure ills.
Yes.
Yeah, just by exercising.
I mean, if you think about the just impact training and osteoporosis, I mean, the woman that dances at 90 years old versus someone who's sedentary and sits in the cubicle, you can increase your bone density just by walking or just by dancing. It's pretty profound.
Right.
The most simplest things that you can do.
Since we're talking entertainment here, you see the show Dancing with the Stars,
Right.
very popular. They're getting a full workout.
Yes.
And they're moving their legs, their arms, and some of them probably haven't worked out in a while.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is our first segment right here with Bamba, talking about CrossFit, about weights. There's a lot of colorful things around this wonderful building, but it really starts off with you as far as the attitude. Talk about somebody's attitude real quick.
You have to come in with a positive attitude. Even somebody that's had a bad day, the coach and the community builds them up and makes them feel like they can do this. Not everybody's going to come in just gung-ho, so we try to push each other to have that positive vibe.
And I think that goes back to your group setting thing. You
Right.
feed off the energy of others. You might be in a miserable mood, but you might be lifted by the group.
The community, right? It's what we look forward to every day is oh my gosh, when's our workout, and let's go to CrossFit Oyster Point, and we fuel off this community.
All right, part 2 with Bamba, Sports Highlights, April 2020, will continue after these messages.
You're watching NNPS TV. Catch sports highlights on Mondays at 7, 2, and 7, and on Saturdays and Sundays at 9 a.m. Visit us online at nnpstv.com to view all your favorite episodes. NNPS TV, watching education happen.
Fusion Fitness with Alexis. Tune in weekdays 6:30 a.m., Mondays 7:30 a.m., 2:30 p.m., and 7:30 p.m.
The Telecommunications Center is an award-winning television production facility for high school students in the Newport News Public Schools. Students can learn studio, remote production, audio operation, editing, directing, and much more. Students can also earn college credit through dual enrollment. The center has graduates working for MTV, ESPN, CNN, Entertainment Tonight, and Tyler Perry Studios. If you want to jumpstart your career in broadcasting, contact your guidance counselor or call 591-4687.
And welcome to part 2 of our interview with Bamba right here on the road. Sports Highlights on the road. April, hope everybody's doing well considering all the pandemic that's going on. And of course, to cure a lot of fears is to exercise and get yourself in the right proper mind and body, because you never know what you're going to deal with outside.
Correct.
Talk about some of the group teams that you've been involved with as far as volleyball. Volleyball is another thing. You've done antiques, you've done sign language. You've got a multitasking background. But let's start off with volleyball.
I started out in volleyball. My mom taught at Bethel, and she was a coach there a long time ago when I was a student at Poquoson. So I would often go over there. Recently, in the past 10 years, Bethel High School started, or Hampton City Schools started a volleyball team, and they needed a boys volleyball coach. So I began there approximately about 10 years ago and coached for about 6 or 7 years there, but for the boys.
What did you see as far as volleyball back then? Was it the fundamentals, or what did you really have to focus on the most?
Yeah, I mean, Hampton City Schools didn't have a team, and most of these boys were basketball players, football players. They didn't really know like the basic sports. So most kids grow up with a basketball hoop, or like they know how to dribble. So in volleyball terms, peppering or dribbling with a volleyball, they were like, what is this? So I really became passionate because they didn't have the bad habits that some kids would have. And I got to teach the fundamentals at a very young age.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about volleyball, usually 6 players on the court at a time. Is that the same for all middle school, high school, college? Talk about some of the players on the court.
If it's indoor volleyball, and of course the rules change year to year, but indoor volleyball is 6-on-6, 3 back row players, 3 front row players. You can get as complex as having a defensive specialist and a libero that comes in and out. But for most part, at least in high school settings, it's 6-on-6. When you go to the beach now, that becomes 2-on-2. Sometimes you play quads, 4-on-4.
Yeah, and you notice too, in a 25-point game, the players' body language, whether they get fatigued, especially at the middle school level, you can almost tell if they're disinterested, they're hungry, they're tired. There's a lot of emotions you can't hide. You've seen it all. Well,
yeah, in middle school, it was a whole different ballgame for me when I came to Gildersleeve because emotions and hormones are rampant. But it's the same thing happened at Gildersleeve. We had Coach Osmond, so he was able to teach the foundations and the basics, but we still had I think I had 22 kids on my team. So teaching half of them the fundamentals and how to bump, how to set was still vital for them to progress into high school, because middle school obviously is to teach the foundation, and then when they go into high school, they continue to play. Hopefully.
Volleyball has always seemed to be more popular with women and girls over the years. Boys have always excelled too in the Olympic level too. But why is that? Why has it been a gender like this is my favorite sport, volleyball? Is it more opportunities?
I'm not really sure. I know up north in New York, boys volleyball is definitely bigger, but I think down south it's a new thing. It's a new phenomenon. Once the boys get into it and they learn the sport, they're just as excited, if not more, than the girls.
We're talking to Bamba right here in our April 2020 edition of Sports Highlights on the Road. And I play a lot of tennis and volleyball are similar, but you got to get the ball across the net.
Right.
But keeping it in play, I'm amazed how the rallies can last so long.
Oh, I mean, this year alone, I was very, very impressed. It was exciting. I think I was sweating as much as the boys were sweating. I was very proud of them. But yes, it's very exciting sport to watch on and off the court. I would much rather be playing, but I can't, so I am jumping around on the sidelines. But if you have a lot of passion, you have a lot of heart for it, then you're going to play defense and you're not going to let that ball hit the ground. Therefore, those rallies are just going to keep on going.
And the volleyball officials that do cover your match, they seem like they're pretty intrigued with volleyball to begin with, so they kind of give the benefit of the doubt on some of those plays, but they got to follow the rules too.
Yeah, I mean, I think at a certain level that the referees will let the play continue, especially at a middle school level, but when it gets to those playoff games and they know they can kind of determine the skill level of those players, they'll maybe call it a little bit tighter. And I've actually played with most of those refs. They still play to this day. Yeah, we mentioned the serve, the spike, I mentioned the rally as well. All 3 of them are important, but you got to get along with your teammates. You really have to, because 6 people, that's a lot on one side. That's more than basketball. Right. I think it all starts with leadership. If you have a good coach and you have a good assistant coach, which I had a dynamite one this year, Ty, and a good captain, then you can kind of step back and let leadership take its course. Ivan was our captain this year with Luke Combs, and it's just an amazing thing to watch. Sometimes the coach needs to just back off and let the team figure it out. Yeah. But once you have that leadership on the court, then they play as a team, and it's unbelievable.
Right, because somebody's got to set the tone, for the others to follow. And you do have people coming off the bench as well. But one thing about youth sports and adult sports, too, is it's hard just to put the volleyball down and wait till the next season starts. Something really you should do year-round, correct?
I would love that. I have tried to encourage my kids to go play club ball. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's kind of like AAU basketball. So during that off season, these boys and girls can go play and kind of brush up on their skills so that when the next season comes around, they're going to be like even better than before.
What do you recommend some of the places they can play during the off season for high school, middle school, and college kids in general around here for volleyball?
I know there's Hampton Roads Juniors, there's Williamsburg Volleyball Club, there's a club in York County as well, but there are multiple clubs within the Hampton Roads area that they can play in. And there's some free clubs too where they could just go to Peninsula Catholic and play on certain days.
Well, I got to ask you this because you use your hands a lot too. Talk about how you got involved in sign language.
I went to school at ODU, and I sat next to a deaf girl who's now my friend, Karen Moss, and she asked me to take notes for her. And I volunteered with the Disability Services. So I was sitting in a counting class. I had straight A's at ODU and failed my counting class.
Wow, okay.
Because I stared at the interpreter.
Won't get you to do my taxes, okay?
Yeah, no, don't.
Okay.
But that's how I fell in love with it. Went back to school after I graduated from ODU, got a degree in Thomas Nelson.
Because anytime you see a video conference or a press conference, you see it. You don't see it as much as you used to,
right,
but you still see it. I know that makes you smile.
Oh, it does. Yeah. I mean, providing access, equal access to everybody is a goal of mine, right?
And there's good things too. We mentioned all the different sports like CrossFit and volleyball, but also sign language. You can see that on YouTube, and you can self-learn as well.
We have a class here at CrossFit Oyster Point that I do that's totally in sign language. So we make this accessible fitness for the deaf culture. And once a month we have just deaf-only classes that are provided in sign language. Hearing people can come, but there's no music, there's no sound, and they kind of have to live in the deaf world as one would live in a hearing world.
Do you like your schedule where you can kind of freelance and do what you want to do and be free as opposed to being tied down? Because it seems like you are a free spirit, that you
Yes.
like to be involved in a lot of different things.
Yes, I need to learn to say no more often,
Yeah.
but it does make for a full life, just dabbling in all these different areas. It's very rewarding.
What would you recommend for somebody trying to get involved in, first of all, volleyball, as a young adult or an older adult, and also CrossFit as well? What would you recommend the first steps are to reach out?
Well, one would be contact your school, right? Your athletic director at your school, and see when tryouts are, and then go to that coach and see when the AAU or the community-based programs are. As far as CrossFit, coming to CrossFit Oyster Point would be my recommendation. We have free classes on Saturdays and Sundays for any age group. Saturdays 8:30 and 9:30, and Sundays at 11. And they are workouts made for everybody. Again, that goal of functional fitness that can be applied at any level is what CrossFit's about.
You coached a lot of people over the years at Bethel and other different schools. Or anybody that's stand out, that's evolved to a higher level in volleyball that you can be proud of?
Oh, I mean, tons.
Yeah.
They still contact me to this day.
Yeah.
Especially one of my closest kids when I coached football at Warwick High School. He and I, Deshaun Fauntleroy, are very close. Talk every day. There was a kid named Russell Long who unfortunately passed away, but he was one of my go-to kids. I would try not to get emotional about it,
Yeah.
but I coached him when he was a freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior,
Wow.
and he went and got a full ride scholarship. So there are kids that I have coached at Bethel that I'm so proud of, and football, and Gildersleeve. I mean, just this year, I was just astounded that we won finals. I'm very proud to be a part of their lives.
It was a lot of fun. And you talk about football, I got to ask you, there's a
Yeah.
lot of concussion protocol now. The injuries seem to happen more. A lot of kids are playing soccer, because it's not as much concussion stuff. What is your thoughts about the future of contact football?
Well, Coach Harrison brought me in because he wanted to increase the strength and conditioning at Warwick High School. And my goal there was to make them safer, stronger athletes. So we would specifically target areas like your neck or your core strength so that your brain would not bobble as much in your head. And talked about flexibility in the last segment about how if you are more flexible, you're less prone to injury. So teaching those athletes how to get down into a stance all the way down, and again, providing that strength and that support as a coach.
Yeah, I think you have to exercise your mind, your brain, your body, your spirit.
Right.
But, anytime you're dealing with a contact sport, the equipment is better, but it can only protect you so much.
Right.
You
Right.
know.
Ultimately, it's your support that's holding it. Remember, we talked about the
Yeah.
spinal injuries and how the more muscle that you have surrounding that joint, the more it's supporting that bone structure. So that same concept would apply in other sports.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you teach kids too. Especially the CrossFit. That should be interesting, right?
Oh, it is fantastic. We
Yeah.
have little ones that jump up onto a box. He's Benjamin, he's this big, but he jumps up onto a box like this, and the whole place erupts. And we have a PR bell, a personal record bell. And when you do get a PR, you have that feeling of just elation and excitement, endorphins going, and he jumps up and rings the bell.
Yeah, last thing about loose attire when you're doing CrossFit
Yeah,
and volleyball both, right?
we flip the tire.
Regular tire.
Oh, a
closed.
tire. Yes,
Yeah.
I was thinking about flipping
That too.
a tire.
Well, that too as well, yeah.
Oh yeah, anything that makes you comfortable. We don't care. There's people that deadlift barefoot. I mean, it's functional fitness. So you do you.
Well, thank you for your time and your talent and
Thank
your
you.
treasure talking about all these different sports
Thank
and
you.
continued success.
Thank you.
Very good. That was Barbara right there talking on our April 2020 show. Yep, she did it all right there for the entire half hour right here as we talked about health, education, fitness, mind, body, and spirit. So, hope you enjoyed Sports Highlights on the Road for our April 2020 edition. For more, log on to nnpstv.com. For Ray Price, I'm Greg Picaveras. We'll talk to you soon.